Hey, Paul.
Yo,
What are you thinking today?
well, I got one that I think is a meaty subject.
Really?
Yeah, we have a pod nugget in our current episode where they have done some research, rather extensive research, and found out that money does indeed provide happiness.
So I've heard.
Which is kind of an interesting twist. Of course, the old saw is money can't give you happiness.
Hmm?
Well, now we know, heck, it can. And I thought that might be an and I thought that might be an interesting thing to explore between the two of us, although it wasn't easy to say. I thought I would beat you to that joke. So, you got some thoughts on the subject?
No,
Ah, okay. Well, I have prepared some notes.
I thought you would.
Yeah. No, yeah, well, I found that it did ring true. In most cases, happiness increased as their income increased, and again, for most of them, there was no limit on what kind of an increase would be involved. So,
Yeah, yeah. Well,
uh,
what does that mean exactly? Is it like the more money you get, the happier you are? Is that what you're saying?
apparently so,
Huh.
because the more money you get, the more toys it provides for you.
Well, maybe so toys make you happy, you think?
No, not toys. I'll tell you what makes me the most happy. I love to travel.
Ah, okay.
Traveling is very important to me, and that does take some money.
Yeah.
We're about to start on a trip to Spain and Portugal in a few months, or a few weeks rather.
Hmm.
And that to me is very exciting. Now, if you're living in poverty, you travel maybe next door, but you really can't take trips. So I would have to say that money, and not money that, Scrooge McDuck kind of money where you're playing with the coinage, um, but the what it can bring to your life will provide more happiness, I think.
Yeah, I think personally, I think you have to define happiness so that if the travel makes you happy,
I've
and
got
has
time. Go
money,
ahead and divide. Tell me what happiness is.
well,
Define it.
all right. Who was it? Was it Aristotle that said, "Call no man happy"? I forget, but um, uh, I think that it's in context. The context is important. So if you live in an environment in which life is simple and you can get enough food and you have shelter and you have clothing, and I'm talking about, the basics, but you don't need anything else and nothing else is possible, then I think you can be happy. And for illustration, I would say, my wife and I were in the Peace Corps back in the 60s, and we had very little but what we had, we enjoyed, and we didn't have the opportunity to get anything else. It was not a possibility.
Jim, you were in your 20s.
Well,
Everything,
okay.
everything is enjoyable in your
Oh, no,
20s.
no, no. There were plenty of people who were miserable because they didn't have this or that. But also the people who lived with us, that we lived with, were fairly happy because they felt like that was what was possible. And they had very happy lives. But you know what? The more that they experienced Western culture and Western goods and Western possessions and all of that, the more they wanted more. They became more concupiscent. They,
Oh my goodness, where did you
yeah,
find that word?
I had it in my pocket.
Okay.
Yeah. And so now we live in a very complex context, you and I, in a very big city that has a lot of possibilities. And you look around and you say, hey, I don't have that. And you're not going to be happy until you have it, unless you change your mind and say that what I got is plenty. There has to
Okay.
be a point where you get to say that and then find a way to be happy with that and not want anymore.
Hmm. Okay. Well, if that works for you, Jim, I wish you happiness. For me, I'm not a collector of objects. And my goodness, my car is 10 years old.
Mine is too.
Um, and so it's not that so much as experiencing freedom that can be brought about by having an adequate income.
Mhm.
For example, let's go out for dinner tonight.
Mhm.
Yeah, okay, no big deal. Let's take a memorable trip this year. Oh, yeah, let's do that. So
Yeah.
that's what I'm talking about. I'll tell you on a very simple level. If there's a book you want to read,
Mhm.
order the doggone thing.
Mhm.
Um, and for me, that's an easier and more satisfying way to do it than to go down to the library and hope that it hasn't been checked out.
Okay.
Small things.
Sure. I'll have to
I'm
edit that.
allergic to you, Jim.
All right. So let me ask you then, if those things were not possible based on your life so far and the things that you have enjoyed that you have memories of enjoying, if those possibilities were taken away from you, that there was no possibility at all for you to travel anymore, which is a possibility, or go out to dinner because of COVID lockdown, let's say, could you still be happy some way, knowing it was not possible to do those?
Not as happy.
Not as happy. Okay, so that's gonna it's travel is going to make you happy.
I enjoy travel
Yeah.
immensely.
Yeah. Okay.
And I enjoy going out to eat a dinner occasionally
Hmm.
and not worrying about how expensive it is.
Well, okay. What if you get poisoned by the dinner? Then what?
Man, you were determined to make me unhappy, aren't you? Give me your best shot, Jim.
I already have that.
Well, yeah, I hear you. I hear you talking, but you don't live that life that simply. Come on now, you're not a primitive somewhere in the South Pacific.
No,
You,
because that's not my context now. I have a
well,
different
you
context.
you enjoy going out for dinner
I'll tell
with
you
Kate
what
now and then,
I do enjoy that very much. But
and you enjoy going
personally,
to concerts.
what else I enjoy is sitting on my deck in a nice, comfortable chair, listening to the breeze, watching the birds. I love that, and it makes me happy. And I didn't pay
But
anything for it.
you're listening to the breeze and experiencing the birds. Shouldn't you be listening to the birds and experiencing the breeze?
Well, that wouldn't
Hmm.
make me happy.
I'm not going to tell you how to be happy.
Yeah, too late for that.
No, I find that enjoyable too. I can sit and enjoy surroundings, or if it happens to be the pyramids you're looking at, I can enjoy that a little bit more than looking at the birds in my backyard, those dirty
Okay,
birds.
okay. Good for you, Paul.
Yeah, and uh, honestly, happiness is relative. We all know that. And there are some people, and I think my parents come to mind, that could live very simply and actually enjoy it, and but their happiness would be watching their children and grandchildren. That there would be something exciting for them. uh,
Yeah,
it's relative. Whatever gives you pleasure, I would hope that you would have the income necessary to support it. That's my hope for everybody in the world.
that is so sweet.
Thank you. Except you, Jim. I want you to live in poverty and enjoy that breeze
Oh,
wafting over your head
I
and
would
the
be
birds
very
pooping
happy.
on your deck.
I would be very happy with that. I would not stick my tongue out for the birds pooping, though.